This episode is proudly brought to you by the Afrocentric Group, Southern Africa's most diversified healthcare group, building a winning health offering. Hello and welcome to another edition of AI Impact Talk with me, Timbekile Mkhototo. So whether you own a home, a vehicle, or even a device such as a cell phone, we all need insurance, right? And that industry has also not been spared from the conversations around AI and how it's revolutionizing the way in which businesses go about what they do. Again, the recurring focus that we're being told is around delivering the best experience, especially for the end user. That's you, the customer. And to better speak to us on the issue of artificial intelligence and the insurance industry, we're joined on AI Impact Talk today by Nathan Eagles. He is Head of Business IT Enablement with Nedbank Insurance. Nathan, welcome to AI Impact Talk. Good to have you with us.
Hello, Temakili. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
I think we should start with just the basics. Everyone, whenever we talk about AI, right, with the various people we've had on the show, they all speak of how it's revolutionizing the way in which they do their work. What does that look like for the insurance industry?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Without a doubt, it's fundamentally transforming the business. In terms of, if you look at insurance, if you look at the experience for the customers, if you look at the way we are doing business, there are many, many use cases out there in the industry. But one of the key things that we're very excited about is how can we actually use data, and how can we use data to make those experiences very much more personalized for the individual customer and actually create value for a customer.
And are there examples perhaps that are top of mind of how you've been able to do that?
Yes, we do. So if we think about something called predictive analytics, where we take data and we use that data to better understand what we believe could be the needs of a customer. So what is it that Timbekile is busy doing? What are the kind of things, the life events that's happening for Timbekile? If we go look at AI Impact, he's going to do an interview today. He's going to be driving from point A to point B. How can we use those things to actually create opportunities of providing individual offers to our customers? Now, one of the things that we're focusing on, if you look at generally how campaigns would have been run.
Right.
So campaigns, we would go and we would say, find somebody that looks like this. And we would then find maybe 100,000 of those individuals, and we would send an offer out to them. I mean, we are all not immune to those phone calls that keep on coming through. you know it's a call center.
On the way here.
Exactly. So
none from Nedbank, by the way. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing.
We'll work on that. Now that I have your number, we can figure something out. But to your point, in terms of understanding what customers need at a point in time is very important to us. So through predictive analytics, one of the key things that we're focusing on is to say, we in the business of wanting to create millions of campaigns for a target audience of one. So how do we create a personalization so that when we engage with you, we are offering you the right products and or services? Now, one of the key things, like you said, this call center that keep on calling all of us, I mean, we're not immune to it. Where we want to go is we want to ensure that we give you the right offer, okay? And sometimes if that right offer means that you actually don't need an offer right now, we want to do that. So it's all about finding opportunities, how we can engage with you,
right,
how we create trust, in terms of, and that trust is very important for us. Why is the trust component important? In order for predictive analytics, in order for artificial intelligence to work, we need access to quality data. If we don't have access to quality data, we're going to probably give you a very poor experience, right?
But how do you get that? So the quality data without it becoming a source of irritation, especially to the customer that you already have, or the potential client that you want to bring in?
So that's a really good question, and it's very important. So what we do is we take the data, we then start working with the predictive analytics, and we start creating a profile. And we say, this is what we think Timbekile is all about. When we produce that offer, we look at how you're engaging with us. Okay, so there's this concept of, let's call it drop-off analysis. So as part of the digital journey, while you're engaging with our services, we will look at, are you completing the journey, or are you actually getting irritated and you're dropping off and you're going like, hang on, no,
Like-
this is no longer making sense for me. Let me move on.
They call tune-out factor sometimes in broadcasting.
Correct. So we will then take that data and we will go look at what we call drop-off analysis and say, okay, what did not quite work for us here? Why did this engagement not work? And then we will adjust these offers going forward, okay? We are very strict in terms of the concept of opting out as a customer. If you don't like our engagement, if you don't like the offer that we've given you, you can opt out and you can go, look, sorry guys, you're just not the fit for me. So predictive analytics is very important to us. Drop-off analysis, what we call, is very important to us. We spend a lot of time investing in our journeys. And one of the things I maybe just want to talk about, if I may, is there's this concept of where things are digitalized. And you might have heard of robotic process automation.
Yes.
So those things are also, what we are focusing on is we're focusing on the digital transformation. Okay.
Which is different from digitization.
Exactly. Digitization is kind of, you take a form, and then what you do is you take that form and you actually just put it into an electronic format. We believe that's not solving the problem. What we are looking at is we're looking at radically transforming the customer experience. How do we create a customer journey? How do we create a customer journey that makes sense for you as an individual? Okay.
Right.
So those are some of the core things that we're focusing on an ongoing basis. We also then look at not just the customer experience, but we also look at the staff experience. So what is the staff experience, and how do we use AI to help our staff engaging better with our customers? Okay.
Right.
And they also, what we do is we have, as Nedbank Insurance, we've got about 30-odd products that we have available. So it becomes very difficult for staff to understand every single product. So we're busy working on how do we create AI agents for them as well to support and help them. So if there's a customer query,
Right,
that they can actually engage in a meaningful manner and provide that information as quickly as possible.
And I'll talk to you about the staff element in a moment, but just on personalization, which is very important in a world where people increasingly feel as though they're dealing with machines all the time, right? Realistically, how much room is there for that? Because a 33-year-old male with a spouse, 2 kids, a car, 2-bedroom apartment, it can feel sort of as a very general thing and homogenous, but not really.
Again, good question. So let me, to your point in terms of, do we understand what it is that every single customer has? Getting back to having access to that data is very important. If we don't have access to the data, it's going to feel like that, in terms of you're not going to get a fantastic experience. Now, if I can maybe just talk a little bit about social media.
Right.
We all freely share data via social media on an ongoing basis, right? Freely. I mean, we post, we tag.
The good and the bad.
Exactly. However, the moment it comes to where you have an organization like an insurance company, like Nedbank Insurance, wanting to have access to data, we suddenly become a little bit circumspect and we go like, whoa, hang on. Why do you want access to my data? Okay? So it's very important from our side that we create that trust. It's very important that you feel secure that we are managing your data in a very responsible manner. So we are intently focused on security. We are intently focused on governance, on making sure that we use the data for what it is intended for. Okay, and not just make this data available to any of our third-party partners or any other parts of the industry. So we are religious in terms of managing this data more effectively. Okay.
Finish your point.
Sorry, and then once we have the data, and then we start looking at matching up your data, your needs with our products and services, and that's where the personalization really start coming in, okay? And we look at your needs and we say, well, are your needs being met through the products and services that you have? And if it doesn't, then, are we still going to punt you a product, or what are we going to do? We would like to think we're going to do the right thing, and we won't just punt you a product. We actually want to ensure and look at your well-being as an individual.
So as a financial service provider then, do you think there's a greater perhaps sense of responsibility, a heightened need, especially around governance and security and data?
Absolutely. As I said, data is at the core of our business, and we need to prove to you, the customers out there, that we are doing that in a responsible manner. Our industry is highly regulated, okay? And we do often have visits from these regulators to come and do audits on us, check whether we're doing these things according to the rules and regulations that are out there, and also making sure that we have the best interest of customers at hand.
Then how do you make the two things sort of function hand in hand? Increased automation in some instances and personalization.
So the two absolutely goes hand in hand. Like I said, we want to make it a personalized experience for every single customer. The personalization talks to also this concept of how do you want to engage with us? Okay, do you want to engage with us in a digital manner? And then make that available to you. And then also, which channel and medium do you want to engage with us? Okay, because there's also this concept of convenience. Okay, so one of the things that as an example, generally insurance is all about filling forms. It's like you need to fill in forms, exactly. So you have all this paperwork. But how if we can reward you as Nedbank Insurance by giving you something back that you can't buy, and that's time. Okay, so that concept is really having access to the correct data. We can pre-complete all those forms for you.
It's that personalization and efficiency again.
That's the personalization and efficiency that comes in, not just for the customer, but for the business as well. So instead of you going to have to type everything, if we can just display it for you and you go, yes, that's all correct.
That's me.
Little tick. And then we provide you with an instant quotation, right? That's how you can get back more time to do the things that are important to you. But again, if we have access to that data, if we understand what kind of vehicle you're driving, if we understand whether you've had an accident before, that's kind of like the things that we are looking at from a predictive analytics, from using the data for the personalization to create those offers. Okay, and then we create opportunity. Then the efficiencies for us as a business comes through as well. Because now suddenly we can spend more time having conversations with you about the things that are very important to you, rather than trying to push through productivity levels of saying, I need to produce 20 quotes, for example. These things can just happen in the background.
Which ties into what you were saying about being perhaps not in constant communication, but having sufficient communication with the client to know their needs at any point in the journey.
Absolutely. And what are the kind of events that's going to trigger that communication? That's also very important, right? And again, that is where sort of the whole concept of behavioral science becomes very important, in terms of, do customers enjoy that we contact them at a specific time? Okay?
And meaningful conversation.
Correct. Yes, and not just punting products. I just want to reiterate that, So.
Not just punting products. I want to talk to you about something else that's a concern for yourselves as an industry especially, and that's fraud.
Yes.
Right? With all the predictive analytics which you had mentioned earlier in our conversation, how much has that helped you to be able to deal with that and get around it? I mean, we've had in the last while many reports of instances where either corporates or individuals, in fact, are trying to, for all intents and purposes, pull a quick one.
Correct. So again, very, very important area of the industry, and we getting really, really good results in terms of, for example, if we look at vehicles, when it comes to people purchase the vehicle. However, by the time they want to insure the vehicle, they've already had an accident. So that is something that's quite prevalent in the industry. But now, through again having access to data related to those vehicles, understanding whether those vehicles were actually involved in an accident or not, that helps us, whereby now we can actually prevent the insurance being taken out at the beginning. So we would know when we get the VIN number of the vehicle, we can go and do validations, we go and check, and we say, oh, hang on, this vehicle's been in an accident not that long ago.
Right.
Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what we also do is we ask people to actually provide us with images of the vehicle. Now this is where technology has become really cool. We can know whether it's actually an image that you've taken now, or it's an old image that you've taken off your phone and you've just shared with us, right? So those are the kind of technology advancements that's really helping us, in terms of fraud detection. And I think there's not just the fraud detection, there's also the automated underwriting that we can get into, when it comes to you as an individual.
Right.
So
Expand on that just for a moment for people who aren't too familiar with how that would work.
So again, if we look at it, in terms of from a medical perspective, right? The way it's used to be is that you would have to go to a doctor, you would go do all the blood tests, the doctor would send you the pathologist, do some blood tests, goes back to the doctor then analyzes all the results, and then we would get a decision based on that from the doctor in terms of, okay, does it meet our requirements? Are we all good? Yes, we're comfortable. Now, we can now start using AI agents that can actually go do the analysis of that blood work. So once the bloods have been completed, that information can come through to us. We could then go and assess based on a set of criteria and decide whether you've actually, met our underwriting requirements. So that is where we're at the moment. But imagine going into the future. If you think about, people like myself that go to gym very often.
I mean,
not. So
what? I thought you were ready for the Iron Man.
But if you think about that, in terms of we have all these wearables, that monitors blood pressure, that monitors heartbeat, in terms of you can get such a lot of information. Now, getting back to my earlier point, if a customer trusts us and they give us access to that wearable and that data that is on there, all their medical information, all their health information, then we can get even more advanced in terms of our offers, in terms of offering things like life cover. Because we would have a really good understanding of your lifestyle, how you do your exercises, all of those kind of things, whether your blood pressure is consistent, etc. Now linked to that as well, something where there's a bit of a gap at the moment is when it comes to are some of these, for example, chronic conditions, are they well managed or not? So, but again, if we're going to have access to the medical information, if we're going to have access to your ongoing medication in terms of how that is being delivered to you, as well as your ongoing, doctor's assessments that you're having, then maybe we can transition into a world of where people that are effectively managing their conditions, we can actually offer them better life cover. Right. Because at the moment it's a little bit of a you have one of these sort of, you've had a heart attack. Sorry, we're not going to cover you unless we're fully underwritten, etc.
So, and that speaks to, Nathan, am I right? This constant pursuit as well of being able to offer practical solutions.
Correct. And this is where the investment back into the business comes, right? Through AI, we now have the opportunity to creating a lot more personalized products going forward. Because at the moment, most of the industries, one product for millions of customers. The hyper-personalization is where we want to go into, And our mission is really to help clients navigate life's uncertainties, right? And this is one of the ways where we believe we can do that through AI. We can really, really help our customers.
And you spoke earlier about how to be able to achieve that exact goal, you need to bring your staff along on the journey because
Correct.
they are the people that the Nedbank client will ultimately interact with, either at the beginning or at the end of the process. How are you ensuring that they are up to the task when that moment arrives?
And there again, absolutely. What are we doing? We are creating an environment where our staff has access to the knowledge base. And what do we mean by knowledge base? There's lots of data. There's lots of product guides, etc., that sits behind the scenes. But getting access to that, it's almost like, if you're going to Google, and maybe this is maybe something for us to just talk about quickly. If you're going to Google, if you don't type in the right search criteria, you're probably going to get a bit of garbage, and then you need to go filter through a whole lot of stuff. And actually, the first 5 is probably just like banners for ads.
Yes. Because we always say, in fact, on the show, that what you put in determines the quality of what you get out, right?
Absolutely. But with us being able to build these AI agents, we can really help our staff to get to the answer much faster. Okay, and we can actually get into the predictive analytics or the predictive texting. So while the AI agent is actually listening to the conversation, it will automatically go and find the information already and make it available to the staff member on screen. So those are part of the things that we're doing in terms of saying, how do we make it easier? How do we make it seamless for our staff members? And maybe just something to add, some use case that we're actually looking at, just linking it back to what I mentioned earlier about this concept of, customers dropping off in our journeys. What we are doing is, when we're tracking how customers are engaging with our platforms, we are working on how can we actually dial these customers and ask them, how can we help you? In terms of while you're in that journey, what can we do? We see you just dropped off. Is there something that we can do to make it easier for you? Is there some information that you need? But again, making it relevant in terms of us calling you. So it doesn't become we just decided we're now going to offer Timbukeli a product. We're seeing that you're busy engaging with this product on our digital platform, but now you've left the journey. How can we help you?
And are you seeing that those efforts translate into a change in customer satisfaction levels?
It does. I think one of the great things that we have, we are very proud of our NPS score, Net Promoter Score. Okay, our Net Promoter Score has been consistently above 60, which we think is pretty good. Yeah, in terms of so we finding that through our engagements, through using AI, through using technology, and being really focused on the customer experience and the customer journey, we're finding that we're seeing value through that. But again, sorry, if I may just add one last thing around that is, one of the things that we focus on a lot is, what are we doing with the data that we are seeing? It's almost like somebody produces a report. That's interesting at best. But what are you learning from it? What are the insights? So we spend a lot of time in terms of using the data, analyzing that data, and understanding what it is that we can do differently.
And with that in mind, then, where do you see the industry going in terms of AI and how it's able to ensure that you function more efficiently, more effectively as an organization, but also that your customers at the end of the day remain in a place where they feel they're very well serviced? And again, the issue of personalization.
Yes. I think one of the key things that we have as an industry, and it's generally, if you think about technology, the personalization is again a very, very important question. But are we having true personalization or perceived personalization? That for me is the key thing. At Nedbank Insurance, we are interested in true personalization. And we on an incremental journey of getting to true personalization. Okay, we don't think it's an overnight thing. We don't believe that it's just a matter of, suddenly you go out and boom, there it is, and it's all working
It's an app
fantastically
and we're
well.
fine, we're done.
Exactly. If you think about AI, wherever you go and you go look at ChatGPT or any one of these things, there's always a little disclaimer that says AI can be wrong. No, but when it comes to the financial services industry, we don't have the luxury, right? So we don't have the luxury of having a little disclaimer there of saying, AI could be wrong.
When you're dealing with people's money.
Exactly. When you're dealing with people's money, when you're dealing with people's futures, it is important that we get it right. So we are putting a lot of effort into design. We're putting a lot of effort in ensuring that what we're doing is properly governed, and that we are getting the correct results.
And is South Africa, is the country well equipped for the challenges, the needs of the present, and where the industry sees the future?
Very interesting question. Personal opinion, I think people are more ready than we might think. Okay, and the reason I say that, if you think about the adoption of social media, if you think about the adoption in terms of if we think about mobile devices, if you look at our population, our penetration rate when it comes to cell phones is like way above 100%, right? So people know how to use the technology. The question is, are we making it easier for people to use the technology? Are we making it simpler? Are we making it fast? I think one of the key things is we all want choice, but we want simple choice. We don't want things to be overcomplicated. And that's what we're striving for, and I think that's what, as an industry, we should be striving for. Is, do we understand those needs? Do we understand what the needs are, and do we offer people the right choices at the right time? There are so many products, there are so many services out there. How do we even start helping to educate ourselves and being in a position to make the right choices?
So lastly then, Nathan, as we come to the end of our conversation, you mentioned the personal a short time ago. What does AI mean to you as a person and as a professional in an industry where it's had such an impact?
Wow, that's an important question, right? And AI becomes a very personal thing, in my opinion. In terms of, do you trust what you are seeing? Do you trust what you are hearing? I think one of the things, if you look at social media, in terms of through AI, there's so much fake news. You don't even know if some of these videos...
And it's starting to look more legit, right?
Exactly. So you don't even know if some of these videos are real. So I must admit, something that I do in my personal life, if I see something, if I see a reel or something, first thing I do is let me go do a search and see if it's actually real.
Cross-check, double-check, triple-check.
Absolutely. So I think, absolutely, it's a fantastic opportunity in terms of changing my personal life. It can help me save time. That for me is important. Where it can help me as well is in terms of, how do I narrow down and how do I filter my choices in terms of what it is that I actually want to see or where I want to go. So I think, AI is fantastic. It's a fantastic opportunity, but you need to apply your personal sort of, let's call it, mind, and overlay your thoughts and ideas linked to that. Because AI is not foolproof, right? At this point in time, it will not necessarily give you all the right answers, but it can absolutely help you off on a fantastic journey. That's from a personal perspective. From an industry perspective, absolutely, there are fantastic opportunities for us as an industry. The getting access to the data for me is very important. And how do we show trust? How do we get into this world of people trust the data, people trust the use of data, and people trust the outcomes of what they're being presented with? Those things are key for me. But as an industry as well, we need to start sharing data. in a more what's the word I'm looking for, really, in a much more structured manner, but also sharing data for the good, for the greater good of the individual.
Is that tough
and
to
then
do
also
in
the
a
industry.
competitive banking environment or insurance environment?
Wow, yeah, I think it is. But there's also the regulator side of things, right? In terms of how do you trust it? How do you make sure that the governance, that the controls are there? So we need to build in a lot more controls. We need to demonstrate that trust to customers. But as you say, it's a competitive environment. So, how do you share that? And I think one of the key things as well is we need to understand where's your differentiation. So through AI, everybody's going to probably do exactly the same thing. But the differentiation, specifically if I think about it from a Nedbank Insurance perspective, we keen on showing trust, and demonstrating trust to our customers. And linked to that, you need to have a really solid business and a value proposition to your customers, where customers absolutely support your model, and you support your customers through that model.
Nathan Eagles, a good point to leave it. Thank you so much for coming on to AI Impact Talk today. Nathan, by the way, is the head of Business IT Enablement with Nedbank Insurance, speaking to us about how AI is revolutionizing, if you will, the insurance space. Thank you for watching AI Impact Talk. This episode is proudly brought to you by the Afrocentric Group, Southern Africa's most diversified healthcare group, building a winning health offering.